This is a brief introduction into using the free ChromaMate software to compare and match colors in digital images. Although ChromaMate finds use in diverse fields, in this video I am mainly going to concentrate on philately. However, the principles will apply to other users. Once ChromaMate has been installed, to start it, double-click the ChromaMate desktop icon. The main screen opens up. The first thing you'll see is the tip of the day. If you no longer wish to see these tips at startup, uncheck this box. They can be enabled again via the configuration dialog box, which is accessible from the configure button on the main toolbar. The main screen contains a title bar, ChromaMate version 1.0, a toolbar with various buttons, including a help button, which is very useful, two tabs, the sample and match tab, which we are currently viewing, and the data tab. Each of these tabs has its own tool palette. This is the data tab tool palette. This is the sample and match tool palette. A tool palette is divided into two sections, a color selection section and a color matching section. The first thing to do is to open an image. Click the Open Image button, select an image. In this case, a Japanese stamp issued in 1999 is displayed in the main window. To choose a color in the image, one can choose a single point in the image. I have the single pick button selected, and clicking in the image, the selected color as well as the red, green and blue values along with the CIELAB values are displayed here. Actual colors in the swatch. If you are not familiar with CIELAB values, they can be ignored. One can adjust the size of the area to be selected by adjusting the pick size, in which case the colors in the selected area will be averaged. So it was 1 by 1 pixel. I'm going to choose 9 by 9 pixels. You'll notice, actually let me zoom in, that the cursor has a little 9 by 9 pixel box following it. And I can select groups of 9 pixels. The colors are averaged, the colors within the box are averaged. Alternatively, one can click and drag to select larger areas. Drag button. Colors in each of these selections are averaged. Notice how they change in the color selection swatch there. It is sometimes useful to be able to select multiple areas of an image. This is enabled by clicking the multi button. We can choose pick and drag, leave it as pick. As areas of the picture of the image are selected, they add to the average. They are highlighted on the image. 1, 2, 3. Notice how the swatch color changes. One can also see the colors of the individual selections by hovering the mouse over them. Red, green, blue. One can remove individual samples by clicking on the little X. In most cases, one would really want to sample the same color from multiple areas of the image and average them. We can clear all the selections and start again. Individual samples and the average of the three. Once a color has been selected, it can be matched against colors in the color library. The color library can contain multiple color tables, some of which may be dedicated to specific tasks. Here I have the web colors color table selected. So when I click on the match button, it is going to attempt to match our selected color with colors in the web colors table. Selecting match. This is where the matching colors are displayed. The closest matching color in the web colors table is pink. It is noticeably different with a 76% match. These other colors are even less of a match. Thistle, 73% match. Light pink, 76% match. Of course, if I was using a color library that included the colors of interest, I would likely find a much closer match, which is why I'm now going to address creating and adding colors to the color library. Color tables to the color library. To add colors to a library, it's necessary to have a source of reference colors. One source of such colors is, for example, the Stanley Gibbons color key used by many stamp collectors. This contains something like 200 labeled color swatches. Scanning and importing the whole key can be a fairly time-consuming task, but initially one only needs to scan the colors of immediate interest and then adding to them as needed. Here I have a scan of a few of the greenish shades which I'm going to add to the color library. So you can see the whole, zoom out so you can see the whole scan. I can either add this to an existing color table or to a new color table. In this case, I'm first going to create a new table. I'll click the Library Maintain button, select the New Table button, and give the color table a name. In this case, I'm going to call it SG key, Stanley Gibbons key. Added new color table, SG key. The SG color table is now available for selection in the list of color library tables. I am now going to add one or two colors to the SG color library. First of all, I'm going to be in single mode. Dull yellowish green, selected, and library add. Dull yellowish green. Maybe a bright green. Library add. Bright green. And possibly a pale blue. I'm now going to open an image to analyze. I'm going to try and match colors in this image against this SG key color table. I'm going to take multiple color samples to try and average out the color of the stamp, making sure by zooming in to select solid areas of color. Multiple, maybe 3 by 3 pixels, and zoom in so we got solid areas. Oh, I accidentally selected some of the white area, which will affect the average, but I can easily remove that sample. Clicking on the match button will try to match the average sample color against colors in the SG key library. Select match. Because I've only added a few colors to the SG key, I'm able to find a close match, but the closest is dull yellowish green. It's noticeably different, an 84% match. Alternatively, one can use identified samples of actual items as references. Here I have scanned a few samples of Rhodesian stamps issued between 1910 and 1916. These are known colloquially as the doubleheads. I've identified each one with its color. I'm going to add them to a new library. Maintain, new table. I'm going to call it the doubleheads. I can now select the double heads. I can now sample and add the color of each stamp to this table. This one is olive green. Zoom in a bit and select some solid areas to average. 3 should be good enough. This is the olive green color. Library add, green. How about a yellow green? This is yellow green. Oops, let's clear those all and start a new multiple selection. Few points, and that is yellow green. Pale green, clear all first. Oops, that one's that's enough for now. You get the idea. I can now open our previous stamp. By using the drop down arrow, I can list my previously open images. Zoom in. This is a single selection. And we're now matching against the double head color library. Match. You see the closest is yellow green. %, match, still noticeably different. Given that the stamp being matched and the stamps I use for reference colors are nearly 120 years old, and as I have only added a few of the colors to the color table, it is unlikely that I would find an exact match. Instead, in this case, what we are looking for is a closest match. Also, being pragmatic, one should bear in mind that given the infinite number of possible color shades, and the limited number of discrete colors in a library, the objective is to find the closest possible match, not an exact one. I'm now going to demonstrate how color samples can be saved to a data table for further analysis or charting. I'm going to use a Japanese stamp image we saw earlier in this video because it's a little more colorful. Select a color, then click on the Data Add button. Give the color a name. It's displayed here as well. You can call this fuchsia, probably not quite right. Because I don't already have a data file open to add it to, I can either open and add it to an existing file, or I can add it to a new data file. I'm going to add it to a new data file. OK, if I select OK, the color will be added, and the view switches to the Data tab. Here is our new color fuchsia, along with the red, green, and blue values, as well as the LAB values. To add further colors, go back to the Sample and Match tab and select another color. Select the Data Add button and give the color a name. Dark honey. Something like that. The default setting is to add it to a new untitled data file. Or I can choose to open to the new untitled data file we are currently working with, or I can choose to open add to existing file or add to a new data file. I'm going to add it to the new untitled data file we already created by clicking OK. And it is also added to the new data table. One can edit a color name by clicking on the pencil button. Dark honeyish. Or completely remove a record by clicking on the associated red X button. To save the data file, click on the Save button. Notice the little, hopefully you can see it, the little red mark to indicate that it is unsaved. Save it, give it a name. Example. Of course, the data has been saved, the little red mark has disappeared. The data is saved into a comma-separated values text file, which can easily be imported into a spreadsheet or other software for further processing. This is what the contents of the data file looks like. Text file, the red, green, and blue values to 4 decimal places, separate by colors and the name of each color that we've saved. Finally, I would like to take a quick walk through some of the configuration options. These are accessed via the Configure button on the toolbar. The first page of the configuration dialog allows one to change the RGB red, green, and blue display format. It can be integer between 0 and 255, decimal between 0 and 1.0, or hexadecimal for those who understand web hexadecimal notation. One can enable or disable the tip of the day at startup. One can also check whether a new version of ChromaMate has been released. This application needs to contact the internet to check for any updates. Would you like to proceed? Yes. Checking for a new version. You're currently running ChromaMate version 1.00. This is the latest version. Clicking the Help button will open up the context-sensitive help, which gives details of the various options. The next page of the configuration dialog contains the settings for folder locations for color data files and color library tables. The default is in your documents folder ChromaMate for the data and ChromaMate color library, but you can change these to have these stored wherever you like. The last page contains advanced settings which allow one to choose the method for calculating color averages, either using red, green and blue, or CRE-LAB for those who are familiar with that method. Color match units can either be displayed as a percentage, which is how we've been viewing them, or as delta E values. For more information on delta E values, click on the Help button. Click color match units, and by clicking on the delta E, it takes us to the topic which explains what delta E values are. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you have found this introduction into using ChromaMate useful and now have enough information for getting started. Please feel free to contact me via the contact form on the website if you have any questions.